YouTube, I am Fasha, and today on Fasha Outdoors we're going to talk about sweet venison sausage. It's going to be a three-part video. In the first part we're going to show you how we ground up our venison and turned it into a good sweet sausage. In the second video we're going to show you how we made sausage links with it, and in the final video we're going to show you how we did a food sealer to vacuum seal it before putting it into the freezer. So let's go ahead and get started. Come along with us and take a look and let me know what you think.
And here's our ingredients: 6 pounds of ground venison, 1 tablespoon of accent, 12 tablespoons of sugar, 1 1/2 tablespoon of black pepper, 2 pounds applewood bacon or your choice of pork product, a 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1 1/2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of coriander, and a 1/4 cup of salt. They'll also put this recipe in the comment section of the video. So we got our everything gathered up and we're ready to go here. Make sure that your meat is slightly frozen but not completely thawed out and not frozen hard. The KitchenAid Food Grinder Accessory, this thing worked like a charm. I promise you, it was the best investment we ever made to go along with our KitchenAid Mixer. And here in this video, or this part of the video, you'll be able to see my wife Birdie putting the accessory onto the KitchenAid mixer. We got this from her mom a number of years ago, and it's just been a blessing. Once you start to put the screw into the main body, make sure that it pushes all the way back and seats into the back of the unit. That is the part that actually goes up into the head of the mixer and turns the screw. Birdie's now is putting on the cutting blade, and it fits right over the square there. You have two options of either medium or fine for your grinding screen. We went with medium, and then she'll go ahead and put the lock ring on. It's kind of funny here, Birdie's used this thing so many times, and normally she just picks it right up and whips it on there and it goes on the first try, but because we were filming today she got a little nervous. Give it a good hand tight, but remember you are working with plastic, so you don't want to kill it. Now watch for this little dimple here that I've outlined in white. What that is that's going to go into the main body of the mixer, and then when you go to put in your locking screw, as you see Birdie here, she puts it into the front at the accessory attachment. She lines up the square peg and they match up, and now she's putting in the lock screw. That little dimple that I outlined in the square is actually what this screw goes into to keep it in place. Now she's going to use the pusher slash lock ring to tighten up the lock ring on the front there. And a little Vanna White, ta-da, here at the end from Birdie. Da. Alright, there you go. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our bacon. Now I normally go for thick cut bacon, and I pull it out of the packaging, 2 strips stuck together, because it seems to save a little time and it doesn't bog down the machine. Alright, so we got our mixer running. We've got our double pieces laid out. Now Birdie is just simply going to start lowering them into the mouth of the grinding unit, and as they get caught up by the screw, they'll start coming out the screen there and falling into the bowl. Just repeat this as necessary. Don't get in a big hurry. There's no use to get in a hurry. And if you do have a problem where one of them wants to stick in there, that's what the pushing tool is for. Don't put your fingers down in there. So it looks like we're making good progress here. Birdie just keeps feeding it in there, adjusting the bowl as necessary to keep any from falling outside. And like I said, make sure it's slightly frozen. Now we got our venison, and it's the same way as well. We've already cut it up into strips or chunks, and you just got to play with this, folks. If it's too small or too big, if it's too small, it's not gonna grind up properly. If it's too big, it's gonna bog down your machine. Normally I cut mine into 1-inch wide strips, no more than about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch thick, and then just start feeding them in. The bowl we're using is actually the top to a cake plate. We didn't have a big bowl, we never have, but this has always seemed to work. So as you can see Birdie getting started there, she's just feeding it into the machine and it's just grinding it up. Great little accessory. I cannot say enough about this machine about the KitchenAid mixer and the accessory. Now I've taken over the duties here, and as you can see how we just feed these strips in there, and when it starts to pile up toward the top, we just take the little pusher tool, we put on it and just push it down. Now don't use a lot of force on this, okay? You're not trying to kill this thing, you're just trying to usher the meat or the venison into the screw so it can be grinded up. Slight hand pressure, as you can see right here. I'm just letting it do its job. I'm just pushing it into the mechanisms of the grinder and letting the grinder do its job. Okay, so now we got our pork ground up on the right, we got our venison ground up on the left, and now Bertie and I are just going to work our way through the recipe and start adding our spices. Hand mix this to your preference. Everybody has their own. I like to just get in there and churn it and turn it until everything looks like it's mixed up really well. And then once you're satisfied by just looking at it to give it a visible inspection to look like everything's thoroughly mixed, then you just want to bring that over and put the two together and use the same actions to mix that up. Go with this. It's kind of helpful to keep some warm water running, because if this meat is cold, it will get to you. It'll get to you really quick. Now once I have it all ground up together, I just take a cookie sheet and I flop it down in the middle and I start kneading it out to the edges, sort of like making pizza crust. You just push it out toward the edges, fill up the pan, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk a little bit about cleanup. The accessories are dishwasher safe, but like anything in your dishwasher, you know it'll clog up real easy, and you want to be careful of bacteria. So always give everything a good hand rinsing first to get the chunks of material off before you put it into your dishwasher. That way you know you're going to get it thoroughly cleaned, and you won't have to worry about any bacteria before you box it up and put it away. Okay, so now we got the little cookie sheet pushed out nice and level, slightly higher than the edges. This is how I do it. You may do it differently. What we do then is we put a wax paper covering over that tray, and we do this so we can stack another tray on top of it in the refrigerator without the upper tray sticking to the venison in the bottom. As you can see, Bertie's just going to put the wax paper on here. She's going to rub it out. There's really no rhyme or reason as to how you're doing this. The primary thing that you're doing is trying to keep the meat from getting any bacteria off the bottom of the other tray that's going to go on top of it once it goes into the refrigerator. I like to let it sit in the refrigerator for about 30 or 40 minutes before I start to slice it up and put it into the food sealer. Okay, so follow the link that's going to appear here in just a moment, and we'll show you how to make some sausage links using cast. See you soon.